Hey guys, I want to tell you about one of my favorite new companies, and that is Rep Provisions. So I met these guys at PaleoFX last year where they were just blowing everyone away with their beef sticks and pecan nut butter combo packs that are outrageously delicious. But as I talked to them, I was even more blown away because I found out what they were about. They are a regenerative agriculture company committed to the future of the planet by the proper management of cattle. So they are regenerating America's grasslands with the management of their cattle. Look into it. It's amazing. They have everything from, of course, high quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef to Mongolisa pork, which is like the Wagyu of pork, to bone broth popsicles, pecan nut butters, like I said, and so many amazing things. Go support them and support the future of our planet. And they're giving you 15% off for being a Kick-Ass Life podcast listener. So use coupon code KICKASSLIFE and get 15% off at repprovisions.com.
Hey everyone, we're going to take a minute here at the top of the show to chat with you about some of our sponsors who are offering incredible discounts for you and your family. We also only align ourselves with companies that we know are providing safe and healthy products, and also products that we actually consume on a regular, if not sometimes daily basis. And one of those companies is Primal Kitchen. Primal Kitchen products are incredible because they are dairy-free, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free with no refined sugar. And they are delicious. So visit primalkitchen.com to check out the vast array of products available and use code KICKASSLIFE for 10% off.
Hey guys. Okay, so today we are interviewing Elle. We're going to get to know Elle on a deep and personal level here. First, Elle, I have some like rapid fire questions and then we'll go into like a deeper part, okay?
Okay.
So
Excited.
rapid fire, let's go. All right, what's your favorite healthy food? The one you just want to eat all the time.
Shit. God, I think there's like a lot actually. I would say right off the bat, I love cucumbers. I just love cucumbers in so many
Wow.
different varieties. So plain by themselves, like Japanese cucumber salad. So I say that's a very healthy thing that I love. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to send you some tahine. Have you ever had that? The Mexican.
You mean tahini?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, are you talking about the salt?
Yeah. I
No,
love
I
that on
grew up
cucumbers.
with a bunch of kids from Mexico, and they always had
Okay.
these packets of salt they were sucking on, and I know
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. No, I haven't
I'm
tried it on cucumbers, but I know people love it.
I'll have to send you some. It's so good. It's my favorite. All right, favorite junk food.
Oh, that would be like donuts or cake, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind? Which kind of donut? Which kind of cake?
I mean, I like straight up like sugar donuts, plain, like old
Uh-huh.
school.
Uh-huh.
I like things with frosting on it. So I like lemon cupcakes and things like that. I love but yeah, anything like a good cupcake, not a shitty one from the local store, but like a really good one.
Yeah.
Or like a really good piece of like homemade buttercream cake with frosting.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is like
Like the old school classics is what I'm hearing.
the old
Yeah.
school classics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't really go for like candy or too much chocolate or ice cream or those other things. It's not that they're not good, but if I had
Yeah.
to choose one, it'd be like, oh yeah, let's go for some donuts.
Totally. Yeah, I'm not an ice cream person either. That's a
Mhm.
not a tripping point for me.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Most impacting book you've ever read, right straight out of the gate. Just what stands out?
Uh, the nature of personal reality by Seth, and Seth is a channeled entity. It seems real woo woo and crazy. Back in the 70s, it was written, and actually, the Seth material. Seth has several books. Are the most requested materials from the Yale University archives. Oddly enough, um,
Wow.
and so Seth is very similar to what people know as the current Esther Hicks through Abraham
Yeah.
Hicks. So Esther channels this thing called Abraham, but Esther and her husband were both very into the Seth material way
Yeah.
long prior. So yeah, so I would say the nature of personal reality. I reread it all the time. I've taken 3
Wow.
courses on it. It's literally like a Bible of mine that I read all the
Wow. Okay. I've heard of it. I haven't read it though, and I'm a huge fan of Abraham Hicks, so I'll have to get on that.
time.
Most impacting movie you've ever watched? Just knee jerk reaction. Just stands
Mhm.
out.
So many, but I would say one that really hit me was it won the Oscar in 1946. It's called Gentleman's Agreement. The reason it hit me so hard is because my grandmother was a blonde Jew, and she was very embarrassed about that. She was the only blonde Jew in her neighborhood growing up.
Hmm.
She wanted to be the first Supreme Court justice. There was a lot of anti-Semitism in the 30s when she had graduated law school, being one of like 2 women to graduate. And at the time, women
Wow.
couldn't even serve on juries. So for her, it was like she wasn't religious, she wasn't into the religion, and she didn't want to be judged for it. So she was one
Yeah.
of those people that walked around and passed, right? Passed
Yeah.
as not being Jewish and kind of was like, oh, we're Unitarian or whatever. So she denied her heritage for so long and ended it to be a strife in the family because half were practicing Jews and half were like, we don't want to be associated because we don't want to get discriminated against. We don't
Yeah.
want, right. And
Wow.
so Gentleman's Agreement really, after my grandmother died, I watched it, and I was so mad at her for denying us this
Mm,
heritage for so long. And when I
mm.
watched it, Gentleman's Agreement is there's a reason it won the Oscar. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It is so well written. It is about a guy, Gregory Peck, who decides to go to New York, and he's like going to write an article about anti-Semitism, but he's like, well, what has already been said that hasn't been said? Like, how do I do this? So he changes his name and just pretends to act like he's Jewish. And the reactions that he gets from people along the way, the subtle racism, the subtle anti-Semitism, all of those things made me feel more empathetic to my grandmother. And I thought, you know what, if I were her, I probably would have done the same shit.
Mm.
So that's why that was an impactful movie for me. I think it's a movie everybody should watch. And definitely everybody who's as any Jewish heritage should watch. But I think that was really impactful because it changed the way I saw her and
Yeah.
also how I understood why she would have done that. And I can't say that I wouldn't have done the same thing.
That's very cool. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to take things out of our context of the time that we've lived in and realize it was just a very different time and people were under different pressures. That's really cool. What an
Yeah,
amazing story. Was that in did your grandmother live in Chicago also?
she did. Yeah, she
Yeah.
grew up in like Ohio, but then she moved to Chicago, and they were all like blonde and red haired Jews, and it completely separated the family. It was like a huge, still,
Really?
yeah, it was still a huge thing. Like I was wondering, I'm like, why are my cousins celebrating Hanukkah? And then I kind of connected. I was like, wait, even you're Jewish, isn't that blood? Like, then aren't we Jew? And then when I called my grandmother to ask her, she was so embarrassed and had this so into her head all these years. My grandmother didn't even invite my great grandmother to her own daughter's wedding because it wasn't a Jewish wedding. People would have
Wow.
known she was Jewish. And she was like, we're just going to keep her out of. Again, everything was about protecting this appearance. And
Wow.
that movie made me understand it, but
Mhm.
it kind of caused a rift in the family. So then later on, I was like, what the hell? And so,
Wow.
so in eighth grade, I kind of really discovered the truth and then, yeah, went along my way.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a really cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, favorite movie genre now. Like if you're just gonna like
Comedy,
watch a movie. What?
comedy, hands
Comedy.
down comedy. There's no question about it. It's either stand up or it's going to be some really goofy shit. Like this weekend, I watched Kristen Wiig's new movie, Barb and Star. Love that shit. Love anything having to do with high characters. Uh, so goofy comedies. It's always been my thing. It's my
Favorite
go.
comedy?
Oh, that's really tough. My favorite
I know.
comedy book of all time is Confederacy of Dunces. My favorite comedy would be, oh, that's so tough. I mean, I like everything from Airplane and slapstick movies from back in the day to, yeah, just, I don't know,
If
gosh.
you had to watch one today, what would you choose?
Ooh, God, that's really, really
Just for
tough.
fun. It's just a fun
I've
one.
seen so many. I gotta just, choose this one. God, oh my God. Yeah, this is a tough
That's
one.
too tough. You can't choose. You
It's so
really love
tough because
comedy.
I love so many things so much that I feel like if I say one, I'll be like, oh no, but that one, but that one, but that one. Um, yeah, man, I don't know.
Do you have a
That's
favorite
really tough.
comedian or a few?
I do. I have some favorite comedians. Back to like probably my all-time favorite would be George Carlin, who's now dead, and I saw him twice in person before he died, which was awesome. Bill Hicks, who's also dead, who was an amazing comedian. Of course, I love Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. But is recent days everything from Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K. I love Sarah Silverman. There's some other really great ladies out there. Whitney Cummings. I love Cat Williams. I love Kevin Hart. I'm constantly watching comedy. Everything from I love Joe Coy has a really couple great stand-ups that came out in the past couple of years. I actually like all these people. I've watched all of their stand-up specials probably 3 or 4 times. It doesn't get old to
Mm.
me to keep watching it. Yeah.
Okay, so in your like acting career, dream movie, your dream role with dream cast.
It would be a comedy. And it
Okay.
would probably be with all of the people you've seen on SNL and like the Melissa McCarthy's of the world, the Kristen Wiggs. Those are all the people like I've done sketch comedy with before in the past, like in those kind of scenarios. So I would choose to be in a high-end comedy movie with a bunch of sketch comedian actors. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. So you have an evening open to yourself. What do you do?
I've had an evening open to myself for a year. So,
Your favorite thing, like what's a like, oh, I loved this.
so it's just with me hanging
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Whatever
like ideal
you choose.
scenario would be like, you know, take a nice long bath, chill, listen to some yummy stuff, then maybe, cook dinner or have it cooked for me or order it and just chill, like staring at a fireplace, watching a good movie. Just, I can just like stare at a mountain and just enjoy that. So if there's a view, I would probably just sit there with the fire and stare at the view. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Just calm. Okay. Biggest pet peeve.
I got a couple of these.
All right, let's go. Let's hear them.
One is I hate it when people don't signal in the car. It's like, let everyone know where you're fucking going, dude. Like, this bothers me because I don't care if you're going to be making maneuvers. Let everyone know where you're going. So even when like there's nobody on the road, it could be late at night, I still signal. Like there's still, I may be like, there may be someone
habit.
500 feet back. It's habit. And I also really like that.
It's like a courtesy thing of like letting people know.
It's a courtesy thing. I don't like lateness. I've been very clear with like the world about that. Chronic kind of stuff like that. I think that's geez, it's tough. I mean, I guess I don't have too many. Yeah, I would say those kind of things. Like,
yeah, it boils down, I think, to not being courteous to other people, not considering others. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think I'm always kind of in that state a little bit.
Yeah.
In what I do. So when people are really in the other direction, I'm like, really?
Yeah, totally. I can see that. Favorite quality in people.
Oh, I mean, I super respond to people that are no bullshit, tell it like it is. Absolutely. 100%. Most of my friends are that way. We talk with each other that way. I believe it brings people closer because it is a level of vulnerability and transparency. And I would prefer to be around those people, despite how sometimes harsh or direct that language is. I would prefer that over the other. Yeah.
And I think we can both be that way. So it's really nice when you find friends that way, because you're like, I'm not being harsh with you. I'm actually being loving. I'm just like telling you the truth. Totally. Yeah, because it's honesty. It's a connection thing, I think. So I agree with you on that.
And I think like not, in that friendship too, like in the brutalness, knowing that they're not going to judge you. Like I had a friend who called me yesterday who was like, I feel really bad, but I just have to express this to someone. Like I started smoking cigarettes again and I don't want to stop right now. And I just needed to talk to someone about it because I feel ill about it. And I was like, but I'm glad that they called me and they trusted that they knew I wasn't going to judge them. I wasn't going to give them a lecture, but they just needed a sounding ear. So yeah. So that combined with acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. A habit that you have that you're proud of.
I would say I'm pretty self-motivated when it comes to like exercise and health and things like that. And I know you are too. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. So I'm sort of just grateful that it's inherent now.
What does that look like for you? Your exercise
I mean, like
habit?
Sometimes it does, I have to force it. I have to be like, I don't do this, damn it, but I usually end up doing it. I always feel great about it. It's important to my arm situation and my whole life, that I keep sort of aligned and healthy. But I love it because many, many years ago, I hated it. You could have never gotten me on a hike or to do something active. Like there was many years where I didn't do jack. So the fact that it's sort of just built in now and it's motivating, it's something like I love versus like, shit, I have to do it. Even though sometimes I feel that way and I do it anyway, I still love it. So I'm just glad that the tides have changed there from way long ago where I just didn't care.
What do you think has gotten you to love it? For somebody who can relate, like they were like, I hate doing it. Like, they're like, how do you get there? What do you think has caused you to love it?
Like the results, how I feel. I also feel that there is, because no one necessarily is like, oh, I can't wait. I know you are sometimes, but sometimes people aren't like that. I think that's such a great, like, test to constantly be overcoming. You do it anyway. There's something there that makes me feel proud, even in the moments when I don't want to. There's some conquering there, some accomplishment, something that I feel like, And I think because it is it's based in self-love. It's based in like, keeping yourself young and, as long as you possibly can and agile. And so there's something about that just feels so good.
Yeah. I think the days that I don't feel like doing it are the days that I'm like, feel the best after I do anyway. Like it's like this double whammy of I feel better now and I'm freaking proud of myself. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. A habit you're not so proud of.
Oh man.
You on the spot.
Yeah. Let's see. A habit that I'm not so proud of. I would, I like marijuana, but I think that smoking it, it's not good. And so I think sometimes like I smoke it versus eat it, and I wish that I would
Hmm.
do the other more than the other, just because I know it's damaging. So there are times when I feel about that,
Hmm.
or like okay, and then it makes me feel yucky because of the smoke and things like that. Even though I love the actual drug, so but I live
Yeah.
in California where you can get edibles and stuff. So I think like I'd like to get rid of completely like feeling like I not that it wouldn't be
Mm.
every once in a while, but I wouldn't do it as regular maybe as I do. And I'm not like smoking weed all day long or anything, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, it's just one thing
The,
that I'm like, I'd like to get over that hump because I used to be a cigarette smoker. Then I was
mhm.
a vapor. And now it's like, okay, this is the last like lung thing. Just like get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the flower is so beautiful, like a vaporizer. Those are so cool because you get that without getting like the burnt
Yes.
particles. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Something you're a sucker for that makes your heart just like, mm.
Oh, puppies and babies, like any kid between like 1 and 2, like 2 years old, kind of little toddlers, and
Hmm.
puppies and dogs. Just man, damn it, I love all animals, and so if I need to like get into a better mood, I'm more inclined to go on Instagram and look at golden doodles or like pictures of my friends' babies to lighten me up.
Yeah.
That makes me
Are
just
golden
like
doodles your favorite dog breed?
right now they are, but there's another one that I really like too called Anatolian Shepherds.
Mm.
And they are sort of an ancient breed of dog. And the reason that they're cool is that they are the only dogs that literally repel mountain lions and bears. So people have
Wow.
them in really crazy parts of the world, and a bear or a mountain lion won't fuck with you. So a lot of the pasture raised farmers in California have Anatolian Shepherds protecting their property. It's like an outdoor dog. They're really cool. They're beautiful, but they can be like 150 pounds. They're massive.
Wow.
And I learned about them a few years ago, and I love them. But yeah, Golden Doodle, I would say is my favorite.
Yeah, the other one would be really great for you for hiking, I think, out in California. Like that would make me feel much more
Yeah, and in
confident and safe.
Colorado too, when you come across bears and stuff like these dogs, just there's some they are an ancient breed from like 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. There must be some sort of inherent agreement because they use them in Africa to protect farms from cheetahs. And
Mm.
so cheetahs don't even want to deal with them, and cheetahs are way bigger than these dogs. So there must be some ancient like underlying agreement, like don't f with us or something.
Wow.
Yeah, but I
It's
love
a
golden
good
doodles because they don't shed and they're
yeah.
hypoallergenic and they're so silky. And yeah, I'm just in love with them.
Yeah, wow. I want a dog so bad, so I
Me
could
too.
talk about that all day. I also follow some dog accounts too, just because it
Me too.
brings a little
Yeah.
bit of joy into your day. All right. What would you consider your top three strengths? You as an individual, that can be random, just like, yep, I'm just naturally strong in that.
Confidence.
Mhm.
I would say, and okay, so but within confidence, I say like drawing boundaries and all that stuff because I'm
Yeah.
really good at it.
Yep.
I'm incredibly loyal. I
Yeah.
think that that is a awesome trait to have.
Hmm.
I admire it in others too. Not blind loyalty, but I'm
Yeah.
loyal.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the qualities I like about it's like I'm not moody ever. I could be
That's
moody
cool.
with myself for a minute. I will
Hmm.
never snap at anybody because I'm in a bad mood. And if I did, I'd recognize it right away and be like, oh shit, I'm sorry. So that quality is important to me. And I like in other people who are approachable. Approachable. You don't have to walk around on eggshells or tiptoe. And
Yeah.
I pride myself on that. I'm a very approachable, easygoing person. It's kind of easy to get along with. It takes a lot to really fucking offend and piss me off, like something really bad. Like, and I'd speak up too, but it'd have to be a lot. A lot of things
Yeah.
just kind of go, I don't care. So so yeah, I would say that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
You're a very like considerate person and good friend, and so I think like that, uh, that's like value that you hold and that leaks out in all these different facets of your personality. I've noticed it's just like you provide like a safe energy for the people that you're around. So I can
Oh, thanks.
definitely agree with that and see that. All right, let's go a little deeper. All right. So we know that you grew up in Chicago, right? And I've heard little stories here and there of like, you're like, I was kind of had to be like tough sometimes to protect myself. Sometimes I was a little bit of a bully to people. So we've got like a little bit of the gauge of like cute little adorable tough L. um,
Here
but
for
I'm
tough.
curious, like, tell us a little bit more about, I want to know what you were like in high school. What was L like in high school?
Ooh, oof, rough, man. Couple of my friends from high school would be like, "Shit." All right, so this is how my mom would describe it. My mom would describe it that an exorcism took place when I was 13, and that I did not return until I was 17. So I was a nightmare in high school. Nightmare.
Oh
First
my
of all,
God.
I tripped on acid in school. tons of times, just didn't give a shit. I got kicked out of high school. I mean, talk about like, being on the low rung of shithead kids in school. Who gets kicked out, right? Well, me and actually one of my friends that I grew up with, we actually both got expelled from the same school, and a Jesuit high school. So, pretty much of an ouch. We were, all of us had at least one parent who was an alcoholic, in varying degrees. We all had divorced families, like at least like all of us were from divorced families. One had an alcoholic, and we were growing up in a really tough city with not only harsh weather conditions, but we're talking like we're dodging gangbangers, we're dodging nasty people, I mean, I'm not joking, like for real. And so it kind of puts you in this, like, you're always like looking and seeing like who's gonna fucking try to come at me. It's a defensive game. It felt like, you're in a video game trying to dodge shit. Now Chicago's actually, even though people know Chicago's like the murder capital of the world, but now it's sort of like South Side Chicago versus where I grew up. But even then it was really bad. And it was the most segregated city in the US, the worst public school education. And so, we just got into a lot of trouble because we had a lot of leeway. So we'd cut school for 4 hours and still pass. Like I failed 42, I missed 42 days in a class, 42 days out of a whole year. And I still passed. Like that shouldn't work like that.
Right.
But it did when you're going to a shitty public school where no one cares. So we took advantage of it. And I don't think we learned a lot, we did. So we were kind of tough. We were on the edge of always like fighting with people, to be honest with you. Like a girl fight could turn into a fist fight. You had a lot of just people who I think were like angry and tough and in this like grueling kind of, we're in 20 degree below weather going to school and, all this kind of stuff. And I don't know, I feel like there was a lot of, so we were tough, and we were just kind of like, we blew off school and took advantage of all the stuff. We actually had a lot of fun. But we got away with murder.
Wow. We were like polar opposites in school. I was like in the marching band and little straight A goody two shoes, never did anything bad. It's so funny. But
I think that's why when I got to college, I was like, everyone was like, raging and they drinking, and because they had just been free for the first time. And I think my friends and I from Chicago were all like, oh, we're tired. We already did this for 4 years, So like my college happened kind of earlier because we were all having sex freshman year of high school, end of 8th grade.
Wow.
Legit, most of us, like I can't even name someone I grew up with that wasn't in that scenario. We grew up really fast. So also we could buy alcohol anywhere we wanted, even without an ID, like literally 8th grade walking. We knew the liquor stores that we could go to. We legit didn't even have. So when you live in a city like that, where you get to be an adult, but you're not one, and also bars. So we would go to clubs and the bars would absolutely let us in. We'd know someone that worked in the door. He was an older brother of someone. Long story short, we were like at the major, like serious club bars, and we're freshmen, sophomore in high school. And so we were living this like insane, like limelight life. It was like Studio 52 or 54, or whatever they call it. Like that was kind of like our life in Chicago. So it was like, it was just insane. So I think by the time I got out of there, I was like, oh, I can't do this again for another 4 years.
Wow. Again, it kind of reminds me of the story of your grandma. It's just like context. It was a different place. It was a different time. It's what was normal. So
have you ever seen that movie Kids? It's a really harsh movie. It's about these kids in New York growing up, and some people watched it and were like, that's so unrealistic. And I watched it and I was like, oh my God, they nailed it. Like they nailed what growing up in the city at that time was life. And it was just weird. And also too, we had a lot of friends that had a lot of money. So we just, like, like for example, Chef Courtney Contos, our friend, she also does the chili kits for Rep Provisions. We've talked about this before, but her father owned a famous restaurant in Chicago, and it was like a 5-star restaurant. We would cut school and we'd be hanging out at this restaurant, drinking champagne, filet mignon. Top of the top with, and lunching with like business people in suits and shit. And here we are, like 16 years old, just like living the high life in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. Like kids didn't really grow up like that. You know what I mean? Unless you probably are from one of these cities. So it was like a really weird, interesting life. I wouldn't take it back, but yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So when you turned 17, your soul returned to your body, as your mom says. So and then you went to college in California, correct?
No, actually I got kicked out of high school. So I didn't have a lot of options. because
Okay. Yeah.
if you got
Yeah.
a high school, you're now on the bottom of the list. And I didn't have great SAT scores or grades because I had
Yeah.
fucked
Right.
off for, So basically, my mom was like, "How are you going to get into school?" And she hired a private college counselor who
Mm.
knew about schools. And he was like, "There's this small school in Indiana called Butler University, and
Oh,
we could
okay.
probably get her in there." I literally had to meet with my mom and some admissions person and basically like apologize for my history and my resume in college and prove to them that I deserve to be let in. I mean, I really had
Wow.
to try. So then I got in there. And when I got there, I was horrified because everyone in the school was racist, homophobic, and except for the gays and all the people in the theater department. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hang out with those people. And it was horrifying. Like I had a roommate whose family was in the KKK. And I had grown up in Chicago with all cultures and all people. So now I'm
Yeah.
in Indiana
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
going, what the fuck? Like, how do people
Yeah.
think this way? And that didn't work for me. So I ended up being miserable there because of the student body population. And I went back to the same college counselor and I said, I got to get out of here. Like, I have to get out of here. And so then my requirements had changed at that point. Obviously, I hadn't got kicked out of school or anything. And so that's when I transferred my junior year to UC Santa Cruz and then graduated from there. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, so shifting from like this, experience of just kind of being off the rails, where did this start to shift? Because now I feel like you're like very structured, very, task oriented, like get everything done on top of your game. Like how did this start to shift inside you from like filet mignon and champagne, skipping school as a teenager to like super structured and disciplined in life? Like where did, take us along that journey? How did you start to shift inside of yourself into getting into that space?
Well, I think it was like, whew, I got into a college. So let's just get this finished. Let's
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
and I had already like screwed up and I wasn't afraid of going down that spiral again. Like I hit my bottom already. And then I was like not worried about hitting that bottom again.
Mm.
I just wanted to get through school and graduate with a degree. That was really the only important thing to me. I didn't even, at that point care.
Yeah.
But I had wanted to go to law school and so for many, many years. So I was planning for that. And in my freshman and sophomore year at Butler University, which helped me probably get into Santa Cruz, I was on student government. I did like every resume building thing you could do to make it look good to transfer and to make it look good for law school, clearly. So, and then I did the same thing at Santa Cruz as well. And I just thrived after that. I think after hitting that first bottom, and I'm kind of glad I hit it so early in life because I know it would be more detrimental maybe if it had happened later. So I'm like kind of glad that my shit show happened at 16 years
Yeah.
old or whatever,
Yep.
because then it's like I knew I would never go down there again. And I saw it happen to people in college and some other stuff. And I'm like, oh, better get kids out of high school than college.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's how I felt like, oof, okay, I made it.
That's
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, you matured quickly because you kind of like got that out of your system. Yeah.
exactly.
So when did your desire for acting and comedy and all of this, when did that start? How did that start?
I mean, from the time I was a kid. It always like I loved I love Savage Steve Holland. He's a director. He wrote a movie called Better Off Dead, which is a total comedy classic. And I loved that movie and I love these movies. And whenever they're on, I'd watch them and I just dreamed of being in them. And I love
Hmm.
John Hughes movies, which were all filmed in Chicago.
Mm.
I love the movie Splash with Daryl Hannah, and
Yeah.
like she had babysat someone we know. So it
Mm.
was like, oh, it's
Reality.
possible. Like, oh,
Right.
someone that we know who knew like actually made it. And there was obviously like Jennifer
Yep.
Beals from Flashdance. She also was from Chicago. So there were some people that came out of Chicago and I was like, oh, but I always figured it was
Mhm.
unrealistic and stupid. But I was the kid that would like, I loved SNL, Saturday Night Live as a kid. I loved David Letterman. I would watch this stuff like all the time. I geeked down on it constantly. Like I just
Mm.
dreamed of it, but I kind of thought
Mm.
like, this is unrealistic. My parents will never let me do, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
go be a lawyer.
It sounds like you kind of like were kind of programmed like this is unrealistic, but deep inside yourself, you kind of knew it wasn't unrealistic. You were like,
Yeah.
yes, I am gonna do it. But everyone
Yeah.
says I'm not, so I'll kind of entertain that thought
Yeah.
system. But you still like drove into it. That's cool. So that's been your
And I went
passion.
to school with Robin Tunney, and she's you guys can look her up, Tunney. She's actually really well known. She's a really respected actress. The reason you don't know about her very much is that she stays out of the press and bullshit.
Mm.
She went to high school with us, and she went to. I remember when she went to go pursue acting, and she was like, "I'm going to go out to LA, and I'm going to go do this thing." And And I downed it. I rolled my eyes in my head and I was like, good luck with that. And then look at her now, like just killing it. We also went to school with Laura Flynn Boyle, who was very famous for a long time. Unfortunately, if you look her up now, she had an unfortunate situation where she went to a plastic surgeon and like ruined her entire face for life, kind of thing. One of those awful things you hear about happened to her. So we haven't seen her act in something for a very long time, but she was also very respected for many years. And I knew them well. So again, that also gave me hope. When I started to see Robin on TV and Lara, I was like, wait a minute. And then years later, then after the corporate thing was over and my hands got injured, had my hands never gotten injured, I don't know that I would have pursued acting.
Wow. Yeah. I wanted to get into that too. Your hand injury and hypothyroidism. Timeline wise, I was curious when you were experiencing all of like the heat of hypothyroidism and the pain of that, was that when you started working for Mark Sisson? Were you already in that?
No. So I started working for Mark Sisson 8 years ago. My first thyroid issue ever came up 17 years ago.
Okay. Okay. So way
So I had
after.
already gone through, I actually met Mark as I had fixed my second bout, my reverse T3 problem,
Mm,
but I still couldn't lose the weight and I was doing hot yoga 5 days a week. That's
mm.
when I met Carrie and Mark. And that's when I started. So that was about 8 years ago when I started to get into the paleo primal and all this kind of stuff.
Wow. Okay. Curious for inquiring minds. Like what I know you speak so highly of Carrie and Mark. What are your favorite qualities about them?
Fuck, I love them so much. Oh my God. I don't know any, and I say this and people are like, no, I've said it for years. No, my friends cannot even believe. I can't even believe the amount of times I've been like, I don't know anyone else who loves working for someone as much as I love working for them. Carrie Sisson is amazing. Carrie is the most even-keeled person you'll ever meet. There's barely anything that rattles this mofo. I mean, I should talk about, she's very, she also though has she has a master's in spiritual psychology. She is
Very cool.
on top of the mindset stuff. She travels to Finland to do one mindset thing. She's done Byron Katie. She does all of it. And so she is like real there. So she's very steady. She never raises her voice or gets like freaked out or hot-headed about anything. And as a boss or co-boss with Mark, the level of appreciation was amazing. Like she would just text me one day and be like, I love you. Thank you so much for all you do for us. Like you're amazing. And I couldn't do without. Just, lovely, just lovely. The one thing I love about Mark and Carrie together is they are just like so generous and open. And I think it's because they both, they're both personal trainers. They didn't have a lot of money. So when they got a lot of money and had a big house, I cannot tell you their generosity. They are very much like, yeah, just come over. Oh, you want to throw a party at my house while you're house sitting for me? Do it. In fact, go get our chef fucking have him do it up for you on us. Like they loved being able to have people come and enjoy the abundance that they experienced. And I would not be as open with my house as they were. Like they are just they're so generous. And what I love about Mark specifically, they're very different. Mark is very more like me, a little bit, brutal, harsh, and direct. Carrie less so, but I love that about Mark because you always get your straight shot from them, and they encourage people. They're helpful. And Mark just trusts women. He trusts you. He's not a micromanager. Neither of them have ever been in any way. They just trust so much. And so like, I'm just so grateful for their trust in me. And also too, always do their personal assistance. So they're trusting me with all their medical, like a lot of really personal stuff, their bank accounts, all this kind of stuff. That means a lot to me that they would trust me with that. And, I just think everyone loves the Sissons because of this sort of generosity that they have about their lives. And Carrie is very open. She's very unlike me. She will wear her heart on a sleeve. She has no shame in telling you anything about her life. And I'm not like that, as you know. I've had to work towards that, but that's something I admire in her because that's really confident as fuck. It's really not giving a shit about what anyone has to say. And if anyone doesn't really give a shit, it's probably Carrie. And I really admire that about her in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark has that quality too. Like it's helped him be able to speak truth and reason. That's one thing I love about Mark in the health community is that he speaks truth and reason. He doesn't like go with the flow and ride the wave of what everyone else is saying. He takes a minute to be like, let's actually like bring this down to like reality and what's practical and what actually works. I love that about him. And
integrity, like working for someone who has integrity and is ethical at every turn means so much, because then you're not standing by feeling like you're a part of something that you're witnessing. And so they're very ethical, out of integrity. And I mean, I honestly, I love that. I like literally, I've been brought to tears so many times in my life in the past 8 years for the joy of being able to work with them. But it's oddly enough, I felt more for Mark and Carrie, but I also felt this same way about the boss I had when my arms got injured. I've had two mentors in life that were heads of companies that have been incredible people, although very different, but lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I already was such a super fan of Mark just because of his approach and the way he is. But when at Metabolic Health Summit, when I saw that he was like literally like working the Primal Kitchen booth, which I'm pretty sure he had already sold Primal Kitchen by then, he's like working the booth like all 3 days. Like he was there. Like I was like, wow, that's amazing. Just being there for people, just taking time, being one-on-one with them, like making everybody feel so important and so valued and like on the equal level as him. Like I was just like, that's amazing. That says a
And they
lot.
both don't have, like, you don't have to, at least with me, I know other people would feel this way. I don't have to edit myself around them, no matter what I say.
That's
I can
cool.
just come at it straight, brutal, disgusting, not off color, like whatever. They've got great senses of humor. They're not easily offended. So, like it's great. Yeah, they're great.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. The biggest lessons learned from both your hand injury and hypothyroidism.
The hand injury, I think the biggest lesson was obviously, I wish I had dealt with the shame about it way sooner instead of wait 20 years to deal with it, because that effed up a lot of stuff in my life. No woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I would have, I wish
Deal
I
with
could
shame
have done it
quicker.
sooner. And I'm sure you felt the same way about the stuff you had shame about. If I could go back in time, would have gotten flat with that real quick. I'm sure it would have changed a lot about the trajectory of my life. The biggest lesson from hypothyroidism is, and again, this is something I say on almost every interview. My mistake, and I put that in air quotes, is I just believed and trusted doctors when I walked out of their offices. Now, to my credit, there weren't any podcasts or things like that then. So, but now there are. So there's no excuse. So my big message on hypothyroidism or anything is, if someone diagnoses you with some shit, you better get into it and learn all that you can. You might be able to help your doctor help you. They might not even know what the hell they're talking about. That has absolutely, that continues to happen every day. I talk to clients. So, that will shorten your journey, your personal perseverance. And again, had I had this about me, I would probably not been able to find the information at the time. So whatever, it wasn't necessarily a mistake, but that is a mistake that people are currently making. And I think it's a grave one. And so that's the lesson I learned. And never again will I, even with Dr. Ford, my own doctor, if I don't feel is right, I'm going to challenge him on it.
Get other opinions.
Welcome it. But I just don't. I'm going to, or he'll be like, oh, take 100 milligrams that. And I go, I won't feel right about it for whatever reason. I'll go, I'll start off with 50. And he might be like, whatever, it doesn't make a difference, but like, whatever, he would want me to be intuitive. So, so yeah.
I know Lindsay, trainer Lindsay, my friend on Instagram, and I was coaching for her for a while, and I know she did a consult with you too. And she was competing in bikini competitions, and she said that she like knew intuitively, she knew she was pushing her body too far. Like her intuition was like, you got to stop. And she was like, no, I'm just going to trust what my coach says. I just have to do it like this. And she fought it, and it led her into a pretty intensive bout with hypothyroidism. And she shares that, and I'm grateful she shares that. And I also, you made me think of, I'm reading Principles by Ray Dalio right now. The book is so good. And he was saying the same thing. Like he went from being diagnosed with these tumors that they were saying he was going to have esophageal cancer. So within 24 hours, he went from like, you're going to die in the next year from esophageal cancer to, never mind, you actually don't even have those because of a second opinion. It's like, man, like, so like, can you
I talk to people who've had and this is a great example because someone, and I obviously it wasn't her, but some doctor put her on T3, like a large amount. And I think what you worked with her on, which was the can, I think I told her, I don't know that she ever needed to get put on this in the beginning because it was a lifestyle thing that drove her into it, and likely a lifestyle thing would have her out. So that's another great example of, and not blaming her, but whoever was in that situation, like what fucking doctor decided to just put her on medication given the scenario? You look at the scenario and you go, oh girl, you just like overworked yourself here and underate yourself here. So I don't know that she needs shit. I mean, so yeah, you've got to be your own doctor to some degree, so those are the two lessons from those two things. And the overall lesson is they're the biggest gifts in my life that have led to the happiest, most awesome times and dreams and goals accomplished. So gifts in life come wrapped in shit, and it might take a minute, and I would never take those things back despite the things they caused. Yeah.
I'm going to make that my next Instagram post and quote
That was an
you.
Instagram post. Yeah, gifts come wrapped in
Oh,
shit.
I didn't see it. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's in there.
I'll
No, I
share it.
love that one. It's really true though. It's really true. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, next, you've published 2 books, The
Mhm.
Paleo Thyroid Solution and Confident as Fuck. What advice do you have for someone who wants to write a book?
I might have mentioned before, but I looked it up once. I think like 80% of the US population once wishes they were a writer. And
Yeah.
I think it is because there's this glorified ideal of this lifestyle, like, oh, I'm gonna be traveling and I can just write. And I get that. Like, technically, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
But do you have something to say? And are you compelled to say it? And if you're not, then don't. Because
Right.
the act of writing, anyone can help you with that. You could get a ghostwriter. It doesn't matter. You could dictate it and have someone else write. That's not the thing. Do you have enough to say? Or not enough, but for what you want. And so I find that
Mhm.
people have the idea of a book, but they don't have the juice to fill
Wow.
it. And if
Yeah.
you do and you feel like you've got all this stuff, then yeah, because I was compelled to write both those books. I'm still compelled to write more books. There's no shortage of things that are emanating from me in terms of creativity. And it's not to say that you can't be a one and done author and write one book and never write anymore. That's fine too. But I would just say before you attack that, you have to be really compelled, instead
Yeah.
of just be like, oh, this seems like a cool career or idea.
Right, because it's kind of more about you than it is about the people receiving the message, right? It's like, I'm a writer, right? I love what you're saying there because I love to write Instagram posts like that. Like I love writing. That's part of it. And it's like I know it's like the challenge is for me to convey it in a way that's enjoyable for someone else. And it's digestible for them in a way that creates impact. And that's a really cool thing about writing, is like,
Being yourself and speaking in your own voice, because that's the problem when someone gets a ghostwriter for a book, then they're like disappointed with it because they're like, oh, but it doesn't sound like me. And you're like, well, it's
yeah,
never going to sound like you unless you're expressing it in the way you would.
yeah,
So that's the thing too. You can have a ton of information, but is it also delivered in a compelling way? Both of my books have a lot of elements of people being like, I feel like I'm listening to you. I feel like I can hear you. I feel like I know you
yeah, right.
because I just talk in the way I feel like I want to talk, and I don't give a shit what anyone has to say about it. But again, that's me being me. It's the natural way that I speak, and so I think that that's important to stay true to who you are and how you express yourself when you're a writer versus try to lock it up in some like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do because I'm writing a book right now
Yeah.
and I did that at first. It was like I was trying to write a book, like how books sound or whatever. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like just do it like you normally do, like on Instagram or
Like
whatever. And it got
right
so much
here. Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because when you're writing, I mean, I can hear you on those posts. Same
Yeah.
with me on mine. You're like, oh yeah, I could hear Tara saying this. It's your
Like
way of
voice.
expressing
Yeah.
it. It's so unique, and you don't lose that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you. All right. Your favorite part and your least favorite part of COVID, the whole
My,
COVID
my favorite and least
experience.
favorite.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite parts, which is odd. Um, Least favorite part. I missed out on seeing my mom, and I'm really bummed out about it. Not feeling comfortable really hugging friends or getting in there with like friends' babies who just had babies. Oh, you just
Hmm.
want to, you just, and so that I don't like. I don't like the lack of, luckily I've been able to borrow a dog here and there and get some hugs and
Yeah.
snuggles and do a mass hug with a friend. But, I miss the openness of physical touch and
Yeah.
expression, and yeah, just miss like hanging out with everyone, going out to restaurants, all that kind of stuff. But aside from that, there were too many pandemic prizes for me to ignore. um, so many things happened. Like as an actor, sometimes we do workshops with casting directors. It takes a lot of time to drive there, go there. The whole thing could be all fucking night. You got to sit there. Now they're online. Oh my God, this is like
Hmm.
a whole new world for me. So a lot of also
Hmm.
auditioning and stuff is online. It was anyway, but the casting director thing wasn't. So that was a score. I discovered so many new kick-ass fucking amazing hikes during this
Hmm.
pandemic. I live in the middle of mountains. I do all the same trails, but because we were like, all right, we got nothing else to do but walk and be outside, we went and explored, and I found a private secret hike. There's no way nobody knows about it. Been hiking it forever. Probably not, I'm
Awesome.
definitely not listening anywhere, but you know what I mean? It's one of these things where I was just on it yesterday with my hiking buddy, and we were like, thank God we found this
That's so
place. Like,
cool.
so I've had so many great outdoor excursions and things like that. And also too, um, talking with friends more on the phone over this time because everyone's got more time. And so,
Yeah.
like, even getting closer and deepening friendships and relationships with friends that were already close and everything. But I feel like we're talking more. So, that was really nice too.
Wow, I love that. I love your perspectives on that. All right, last one. What's next for Elle Russ? What do you have on the horizon? What, is in your heart, your dreams, aspirations, goals? What's next for Elle?
This is such a tough question because there's
Mhm.
so many. No, really, like so many things I want to do. I don't even know where to begin. Writing more TV and film, getting more into sketch comedy, acting, all that stuff. Yes, yes. Um, Also, all the stuff that you and I do in the health arena, um, doing some courses, right?
Mhm.
Recording some audiobooks and some other things that I want to get done. Those are just kind of like practical things that need to happen. And again, like writing more books, being out there. There's just like no shortage of things that I want to do, which I think is a great problem to have. So there's nothing. I think I'd rather have that than not know. So I feel lucky that way. But yeah, immediately right now, paleo thyroid solution course in the works, and
Wow, very cool.
when I got out that way, it can be less one-on-one, more comprehensive. You can keep going
Mhm.
back and listening to it, getting really detailed into dosing and stuff like that. I've already recorded Brad Kearns on it to talk about the paleo
Very
primal
cool.
aspect of it. I can give a free book away with it now because my publishing situation is different. So
Mm.
it's just a good time for it. And I'd like to give something to someone that they can just buy and like refer to when
Have.
they need to instead of keep having to call me,
Yep.
just because it's going to be more comprehensive and in their thing. So I'm excited
Very
about,
cool.
yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's super needed. Everyone's gonna be like, "So, when's that ready?" Oh, yeah, that will be nice because you're exactly right. Like, it's a lot to take in at first with hypothyroidism. It's like, what? I don't even know what all these things mean. Free T4, free T3, reverse APO. What is a TPO? What is it? Like
Yeah.
all that stuff. So it's like to be able to go back and refer to it and get educated. That's a really cool resource for
Yeah.
people. So excited about that. All right, Elle, thank you so much for giving us
Thank
some insights into
you.
your life and your heart and getting to know you a little better. This has been super fun. I guess we'll go ahead and close it up, guys. Be sure to come join us on Facebook. Kick Ass Life Podcast is the name of our group. Please feel free to submit requests for topics on there. If you guys have anything that stirring in you that you just want us to go into, please let us know. Again, on our website, there's access to all of our episodes. They all link to the YouTube version. So if you want to share, that's kind of a nice central place to share for people because it can go on all platforms. And that's just kickasslifepodcast.com. And again, you can find links to our discounts with our sponsors. That's Rep Provisions, Paleo Valley, and Primal Kitchen, of course. And so, yeah, find us there and all of our books and everything like that. But Elle, thanks so much. It's
Thank
been fun
you.
digging into things with you today.
See y'all next week.